This email that we got right here says she is making a major shift in her life right now, and she's really unsure about how her family is going to react to it.
Hey, Bert Show. I need some advice and reassurance. I have been struggling with my sexuality for about a year and a half, and I have just recently accepted and been honest with myself that I am bisexual. I had been pretty sure that I was bisexual over the last year and a half or even more. However, I grew up in a traditional and Catholic household, and I was terrified. I grew up hearing that it was wrong. However, my best friend helped me realize that it was 100% fine to be bisexual. I've come out to about 10 people, none of them being my family. I don't want this to be something I hide about myself or keep secret. I would like and hope to find someone to spend the rest of my life with someday. And if it happens to be a guy or a girl, doesn't matter to me. But I don't know how my family would react. They have always spoken their opinion on the LGBTQ plus community by teaching us it's wrong. It is getting so hard to hear, and I'm honestly scared that they would treat me differently or be odd around me if they ever found out. Another reason I think this is because one of my very good friends is a lesbian, and my mom heard a conversation where I asked her if any girl has caught her eye. Since my parents found out, I was no longer allowed to hang out with her alone or spend the night at her place or spend the night at my place. It was not like this before they found out. This was years ago when I lived with them, which I no longer do. I don't want them to treat me differently, but at the same time, I feel guilty keeping this to myself. Should I feel guilty? I hate feeling this way, and I don't know what to do. I'm an adult in college, and this has been weighing heavy and affecting me in my ability to focus. I appreciate any advice.
Yeah, I hope you guys can call up and give her some advice on exactly how to bring this up to the family. 1-855-BERT-SHOW. I don't know. Katie, you have any experience in this area here at some point? I mean, you were digging on dudes, now you're digging on chicks. So you had to bring that up to your mom at some point. Were you worried at all?
I was absolutely worried. I was terrified because this majority of my life, I played it up that I only liked men. I was like, oh, I just like men. And then when I was like, well, let me tiptoe and bisexual and just make that an easier title, I was afraid to tell my mother that I had a girlfriend. But part of me was like, I want everybody to know, the world to know that this is the person I'm in love with. So what happens, happens. So I told my mom, and when my mom accepted it and just like, I still love you. And I knew a long time ago. Thank you for finally telling me. It was a relief.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was terrifying because now I got to tell my family, the rest of my family. And that's what was the most terrifying part, because majority of my family was cool with it, except for my grandmother. She was the one person who was like, I don't agree with it. But thankfully, she's like, I don't agree with it. We're just not going to talk about your relationship. I still love you.
Had there ever been, like, for this listener, she knows her family's stance. And, if, their reaction to her lesbian friend, I think, speaks volumes. I mean, did your family ever show you that side, or had they always been pretty accepting?
They've always been pretty accepting. It was my grandmother who I knew that she wouldn't accept that.
Yeah, as a general, I think what you're getting at here is that Katie had kind of a built-in comfort zone. Like, she knew your mom can't live without you. So you know that she wasn't going to say, you know what, that's it, out of our lives until you change out of. Whereas this email sounds like they're so conservative. That's what she's concerned about.
Do you have friends that have come from these same type of backgrounds and upbringings?
I definitely do. A close friend of mine, she knew her family wasn't going to accept her. So she toyed back and forth for years, telling or not telling. And then eventually she told her family. They, of course, gave her the reaction she expected. And she felt a relief, though. She's like, it's okay. You don't accept me or love me, but I'm still going to live in my truth. And it's okay. And then years later, her mom came around and was like, okay, I didn't want to lose you. So eventually it worked out for her. I know it's not going to always work out, but she shouldn't feel guilty for holding this in from her family.
This is going to get real dark here for a second. About 17 years ago, I had a hairdresser, great guy, really great, sweet dude, man. And he came from like Southern Georgia, very conservative family, gay, and used to tell me how nervous he was to tell his family about it. And he finally wanted to live authentically and told his family. And it's the worst case scenario. They rejected him in such a way. The whole family rejected him. And he's not with us anymore. And that was self-inflicted because of all that. So the fear is real, man. That fear of rejection. I want parents to hear that. I mean, it's a tragic story, but that's a real story, man. And that's not that uncommon. Hey, Alexis, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
What's up? What kind of advice can you give here?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same lines of everything that y'all said. She deserves to be true to herself. She deserves to be authentic and live authentically. And I think coming from somebody in the LGBTQ community, that guilt of not living authentically is going to get her, and it's going to eat her alive, and she really doesn't deserve that. And I would say, if I had any advice, just if they reject you, build your own community, build your own tribe. There will be people that love you and accept you, and it doesn't have to be your family if that's not the case.
Yeah, appreciate you calling. I see you shaking your head yes on that one, Katie.
Yeah, because my friend, when her family rejected her, she had us to turn to. So we were her support system. She moved in with one of us in the meantime because her family had kicked her out. But she built a new family, a new community, but she was still happy and she didn't regret coming out.
Hold on one second.
Telling her mic off?
No, he got it. Go ahead.
That's essential, like building your own community as the backbone before you come to your family with this. Like one of my very best friends grew up Southern Baptist and, came out 10 years ago and still has family members that are like, I will not show up to this family event if you bring your husband. And it's still a problem for them. And I don't understand. It's not going away. Why can't you accept? And they act like you've done this to hurt me. It has nothing to do with you, and that's a very narcissistic way to look at it. But, thankfully, it's not going to be worst case scenario. We lose so many LGBTQ lovely people because the family rejection and they can't live with it, and it hurts so much. So having your own community and support and friends to lean on in those times is so essential.
I have heard from the other side, and I understand what their stance is on it when they choose God. They're so conservative in their Christianity that they feel like they have to choose God, that if they are accepting this of their kids, then they are contributing to the sin. Now, I understand that's the way they think. Don't get it twisted. That's not the way I think, but that's the way they think. So they pick God over their kids, and that's where the rejection is.
My dude that I used to work with, he didn't want to come out to his dad because he was afraid to. And when he finally did, his dad actually cut him off, and they had never spoke again. And I saw how it ate him up every day. But one thing he told me is that the pain of hiding it all those years was actually worse than the pain of not being able to talk to his dad after. So I just always since then felt like you should be true to yourself, and if whoever can't accept that, that's on them.
This is what Melody is going to say too, I think. Hey, Melody.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
So I actually have a very similar story to the person that wrote the letter, and it kind of gets to a point where you just have to be honest, and if that means you're going to lose some of the people that you love, I hate that, but you can't just live secretly all your life. I was like, maybe I'll wait until my parents are gone one day because I was so terrified, but I'm married to a woman, and I came out about 10 years ago, and it was the hardest thing I probably have ever done. And for a time, I was 100% sure I was going to lose my family, but eventually, if they want you in their life, they'll come around. But it is very scary, so I validate that.
The Bert Show.